Okay, in this video I'm going to talk through task 2 of the computer science pre-release material. Task 2 is a bit more realistic in that it's very unlikely that a customer will approach a delivery company and only order one sack of one particular type and not need anything else. In reality, the customer is likely to be working on some kind of building project and they need a variety of different sack types and a combination of numbers of these types of sacks. So question 2 is inputting the number of sacks required for this particular order and then using task 1 to check whether each sack meets the criteria in terms of their weights, and then finally you want to output the total weight and the number of sacks rejected from this order. I'm going to keep task 1 in green and I will write over task 2 in a different color, and that's so that you can see where task 1 fits into this and how task 1 has been manipulated to fit in the requirements for task number 2. So the first thing is I don't need a sack type variable, and I don't need that because a customer may need a different number of sacks for sand, gravel and or cement, so therefore I need a variable to store the number for each of the different types. So I'm going to replace that single variable with 3 integer variables for each of the different types of sacks. Let's go cement and we'll start off that on 0, and let's change the color so we know the difference, and then I need the same for gravel and the same for sand. Okay, now the next thing is I know that a customer may order lots and lots of sacks and we will need to check the weights over and over again. So the thing that that appears to me straight away is I'm going to have to somewhere in this question have to have a loop. Now whenever I need a loop, I need a variable to store the number of times I'm going around the loop, so I need a count variable. So I'm going to declare an in count variable and start that off on 0 as well. Last thing I'm looking at is the question asks me to output the total weight and the number of rejected sacks. So I'm going to have to keep a track of those as I go through the question. So I'm going to start off with an integer variable for rejected sacks, and I've done that as an integer because it's unlikely, I don't know how it's possible to have a half a rejected sack, but I'm going to leave that as an integer. And the total weight, we know that the weights could be entered as a decimal number, so I know that needs to be a real, and that's going to be the total weight, and I'm going to declare that initially as 0.0. If you're using different programming languages, real might be referred to as a float or a different terminology to real, but a real is just another word for a decimal number. Okay, the sack weight I can leave that as it is because I know I'm going to need to keep a track of that, and then I'm moving straight to the question. So task 1 asks you what type of sack do you want. We don't need that anymore. What we need to do is we need to ask the user how many cement sacks would you like. Okay, and then we need to read that into the number of sacks cement. So we're going to get rid of sack type here, which is the original variable that we don't need. So number of sacks cement. Okay, we need to do exactly the same thing now for the other 2 types of sacks. So I'm just going to change that to red. Okay, that's task 2, and then just copy and paste, and then we want how many gravel sacks would you like, and that would be gravel, and to finish off how many sand sacks. And we read that into number of sand sacks. Okay, now we don't have to worry about if the sand type is S at the moment because we need to check for each of them. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to start off by looking at all of the, we'll start off on the first one, we'll start off on cement. We need to check all of the cement sacks to see whether they're in the right criteria. So I need to start off with a while loop. So while count, which is on 0 at the moment, and this is the thing that's going to check how many times we go around the loop, is not equal to, and then we want it to not equal to the number of sacks cement. So not number of sacks cement. Okay, then you need to do the following. So the way that this question works, is that if count is going to start off on 0 and they enter in 3 sacks of cement, so it's going to go around 3 times, and every time we go around the loop we'll add 1 to count. Let's just bracket it up so it's easy to see. Okay, so then we're going to ask them what is the weight, okay, and then we're going to read that into sack weight. That's fine. Now for cement it has to be 24.9 and 25.1, so I'm just going to amend those numbers, and you've ordered 1 cement sack, and then you can output the weight. That's fine. Else, if the sack weight is more than 24.1, it's going to be overweight, it's underweight. So that works fine so far. We need to keep a track, however, of a couple of things. We need to keep a track of the total weight. So if it's a correct sack, we need to add the total weight to a variable called total weight. So total weight is going to equal whatever was already in total weight, and we're going to add in sack weight to that. Okay, so sack weight. So that keeps a track of your total weight. Okay, let's get that in red. Okay, the other thing is, if there's an accepted sack, we need to add 1 to count. So we're going to add count equals count plus 1, and this keeps a track of how many correct sacks there are. Now that's that section done. So we're keeping a track of the total weight, and we're keeping a track of count, so that it only runs around the loop the correct number of times. If it's incorrect, however, then we need to keep a track of it as a rejected sack. So rejected sack is going to equal rejected sack, and then we're just going to add 1 to that. Okay, so we can keep a track of that. Nothing else needs to happen over here. The rest can be as it is. We're just letting the user know whether the sack is overweight or underweight. Now, the next section over here, we don't need any of this, because we're not checking for gravel and we're not checking for cement, if that's the type. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to replace that with exactly that. Okay, so now it's going to loop round, and this time, the second time round, it's going to check for gravel. So now, while count is not equal to the number of sacks gravel, what is the weight? It reads into the weight. This is 49.9 and 50.1, and you have ordered 1 gravel sack which weighs, that's fine. Add it to the total weight, add 1 to count, and then otherwise it follows that process again there, and that just needs to change. If it's more than 50.1, then it's an overweight sack. Okay, we then need to do exactly the same for the last sack type, which is sand. Read into the weight. Yep, that's all fine. You have ordered 1 sand sack, that's all fine. Adds it to the total, adds 1 to count, rejected sack. Now there's a slight issue over here, in that, let's say a customer ordered 3 cement sacks and then 3 gravel sacks. So count is on 0 at the moment, and it runs through that, and eventually it goes to 3. So now 3 is count, which is the number of cement sacks, which exits the loop. Now when you get to gravel, 3 is already in count, and the number of sacks that they wanted for gravel was 3 as well. So 3 already equals 3. So what we need to do is, before we enter the next section, we just need to initialize count back to 0 again. And if we don't do that, there are certain instances where it may not enter that particular area here. We're going to have to do exactly the same for the next section over here, so we know that it will enter this loop without any problems. Okay, so let's have a look at the question. Input and store the number of sacks required for each type of order. We've done that over here. Use task 1 to check the contents and weight of each sack. Ensure that the delivery contains the correct number and type of sacks of the order. So we're doing that in this section. So for each sack type, we're checking that the weight matches. If it doesn't match, then we add 1 to rejected sacks. We don't add 1 to count here, thereby ensuring that they still have to go back and keep trying again, and only when they enter in a correct sack type will they add one to count. So you're ensuring that the delivery cannot be wrong, and then it's outputting the total weight and number of sacks rejected. Now we're keeping a track of the total weight every time they enter a correct sack, and we're keeping a track of rejected sacks every time they enter rejected sacks. So the last thing we just need to do at the bottom over here, we just need to print, okay, the total weight is, and then we want to just follow that with the total weight variable, and below that we just want to print off the number of rejected sacks. And there we have it. That's the end of task 2.